Let's paint cherry blossoms loosely. Start by preparing your background colors. I got here pink, blue, violet, and brown. Specifically, they are Queen Rose, Royal Blue plus Davis Gray, Carbazole Violet, and Brown Red. Wet the whole area and drop your colors. Observe the reference photo to help you decide where to place them. I'm dropping pink on the petals and a mixture of violet, blue, and brown red for the shadow area. If it's your first time here, hi, I'm Bianca, and I've been offering this free and exclusive watercolor workshops via my YouTube and my Skillshare channels. Please make sure to check the link in the description box for the reference photo, and that is the same link that you can use to share your paintings with us. Loaded my brush with pink plus brown and dropping them where the center of the flowers are. Splattering for texture and retouching the center of the flowers. Now I'm trying to define the shape of the shadow of the stem, and the shadow of the flowers. Again, apologies for the bad lighting and exposure. My ring lights are 2 weeks delayed now, and I'm filming during a stormy night. Thank you so much for your patience. I could have waited for a sunny day to film this, but the motivation to paint doesn't always visit me, so I knew I had to record it that time. Anyways, remember to check the wetness of your paper, always. It's best to stop dropping colors when your paper starts to dry. I'm filming this again during a stormy night, so it dries slower, and I took advantage of that. Can you see how my paint spreads on the paper? It's not too wet and it is somewhat starting to dry. That's why the paint is not spreading like crazy. It is easier to control the pigments when the paper is damp. Leave this to dry and let's define the flowers. Once dry, I noticed that the pencil marks have faded, so I need to retouch them. The reference photo has a bunch of flowers, but I decided to emphasize only two of them. These two will be the main actors of my painting, and the rest will be supporting actors in the background. Blurred, not too detailed, but they still support the painting in their own way. This is brown red plus quinacridone rose again, and now I'm starting to define the petals of our two main actors by painting the background with a darker color. This is neutral tint. If you don't have this, try mixing blue, brown, and violet until you achieve a darker hue. I'll soften some edges and let them blend with the background, and will continue doing this until I am satisfied. By doing this, I am balancing my soft and hard edges, the lost and found, the detailed and the blurred parts, and it adds interest on the painting. To achieve the blurred look of the flowers in the background, I will re-wet the area where they are placed, and once the paper starts to dry, I'll load my brush with more paint and less water and define their overall shape. You really need to watch the timing if you want to achieve this effect. Unfortunately, I cannot really specify when to do this. The wet on wet or wet on damp technique depends on so many factors. The room temperature, the watercolor paper that you're using, the humidity, and even the backing board that you're using. I taped my paper on a Sintra board and not on plywood, so it dries slower this way. It's important to note that I'm also using 100% cotton paper, which is a huge factor for this effect. Well, at least for me. If you're using a wood pulp paper or any other student grade paper and you're able to achieve this, please educate us and share your experience below. Time to work on the shadows. Those flowers are still wet, and I will connect them with the shadow colors, blue, violet, and brown. It is totally fine if you have blooms when connecting these two, but to avoid that, make sure that the wetness level of the flowers and the shadows is the same. They should have the same wetness level. And you can check that by tilting the paper and observing how shiny both are. I loaded my brush with blue plus brown for the stem, and I will paint it directly on dry paper. Using the same background colors I mentioned earlier, I will now emphasize our two main actors more by painting the background. Again, it is a combination of painting around the shape and then softening the edges for the colors to mix with the background. That leaves us with hard edges defining the main flowers, and this adds contrast and makes our main actors pop out even more. Going back on the flowers at the background, my paper is still damp, so I can continue working on them. I told you I needed to film this because it's very rarely that I am so motivated to paint during a stormy night. If yours has dried now, then I suggest you wait for it to completely dry, re-wet the area that you want to work on, and retouch your flowers. I will leave this to dry and let's add our final details. I got here a tool which my husband uses for his polymer clay figures, and I use this to paint tiny circles. You may use the tip of your brush. I'm just sharing this hack that I found really useful. Let's add lots of pollens for the main actors and some on the supporting ones. Redefine the shadows too, if you need to. And check the reference photo before you do this. Right, don't forget to boop that like button so we can reach more people who loves painting with watercolors too. Thank you so much in advance. As the final step, and just like what we did with the zinnia painting, I will use a flat synthetic brush to soften some edges here. It will really add to that dreamy effect, and this very same technique is what I use in correcting small errors or mistakes too. If you don't have a flat synthetic brush, you can try a round brush instead. Oh, and don't forget to share your paintings with us through the link below. And here is our cherry blossoms painting. Hope you had fun painting along or watching now and painting later. See you next week for another floral painting session. Stay safe!